Yeah, it was my birthday, and I'm very disappointed that I haven't got presents from all of you. Just
Happy birthday, Luke. There's my big present for you. And a virtual hug.
No, it's my boy's birthday, so he's 14.
Oh, cool.
14.
Yeah.
Must be an eating machine then.
Yeah, I kick the footy with him, and I'm like, oh, I'm struggling. But I'm getting better every day. So anyway, he pushes me.
Yeah, I've got 14-year-old nephews. I know what they're like.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, let's get cracking, Jerry.
Right.
Moody. They're moody. All right. I've just was setting up the sharing to Facebook. We haven't shared it to Facebook in so long. It says it's preparing.
Correct.
I'll grab the link off you. Oh, so I just go to the page, don't I?
Yeah. You can just go to the page now and you can just go share too and you just go bang, 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 bang. Don't do too many though.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this new?
My profile.
Sorry?
Can I share it to my profile?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighties. Looks like we should be live on Facebook here. Jerry Penny here on behalf of All4One and One for All. And we haven't been live in a while. It's not that we haven't been working behind the scenes. We've been working hard at planning a workshop series for all of you in Facebook land. And what that means is that we're hoping that more and more people can come on this each week. Anyone is welcome to join us on these live calls and help workshop your business. So tonight we thought we'd start off with Alister McDonald, and he's going to be talking about setting up, vision and mission and but values, but also sort of referencing that to the structure of your business and how things should be set up. He's going to cover as much as he can. And our little turtle on the screen there is Luke, and we are doing this as a basis for Luke wanting to set up a charitable a social enterprise or a charity, whatever it's going to be. So it is often this is going to be the reference point unless we have some other real life examples of workshopping other people's businesses at the same time. So over to you, Al.
Thanks very much, Jerry. Good timing. I have just managed to share on Facebook. So
excellent.
All my adoring fans will be having this streamed live into their. So I reckon Luke's got 20 minutes. Let's focus on Luke and his not-for-profit social enterprise idea, shall we? Yeah. So,
cool.
So fundamentally, I see vision as the key driver, if you like, the key driver in our lives, in our business, in any endeavor where we really want to excel. And rather than taking up a lot of time talking about my history and why and all that sort of stuff, I'll just say that, I've been in business maybe 7-8 years without one. And it was very much just a kind of hodgepodge of what's next. And, we were setting goals and we were doing all the things that you're supposed to do in business. But when I say I've got a business partner. We've been doing it all together. And it was kind of like we didn't have a real strong rudder and we were just going wherever the wind blew in a way. So when we discovered this idea of vision, it really lit us up. We were already dads. Having children had really got us going to begin with, but the idea of vision really gave us a real, something really tangible, really concrete to drive us along. So this is 12 something years ago, and what we've found ever since is the practice of coming together and recreating our vision has kept what we're doing in our businesses relevant to us. And I'll say this now, you know, everyone here is self-employed. Like, are there ever moments where you're disenfranchised with your own business? You know, like for me, regularly. You know, so recreating that vision keeps it exciting, fresh, and it's inspiring. You know, and what I've found is that the reason why people need motivation is because they don't have inspiration. So, Luke.
Yeah.
You've got a social enterprise idea.
Yes, I do.
And there is a real vision associated with this idea.
Yeah, there is, and that's, I suppose, the reason that I leverage off, you know, everyone in the group, and especially now for the vision, you know, creating that. And it's interesting you talk about the business because, you know, probably 7 or 8 years ago when we explored our vision, we did our, you know, vision, mission, and values workshop. That's where the idea was born, to create, you know, a respite centre for families and kids. And obviously there's a bit of backstory to that as well of what, you know, motivated me or inspired me to think that could be a thing. And we attached it to the business, and that was to build up a business strong enough to give a portion of the profits back to a respite centre for families and kids. And specifically it was to build a respite centre for families and kids. So, and do you want the short story of how that sort of came about?
Well, you got two choices because you've got a son's birthday to attend. So you could do that now, or you could do that either in a separate video or in a future.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Oh, I think it's relevant. I mean, the short version is I was at a community event. There's a family friend, and I knew the lady just through friends of friends, and she had 3 daughters and 1 son. And you could tell she's a hard worker. The father wasn't around. She was doing the best she could. And he was a bit despondent, you know, and she sort of were chatting and discovered that he's, you know, at school, I think he's 12, 13. So he was at that age of just transitioning into high school, which is that key age, right? Especially with boys. He was despondent. He was starting to get into trouble, and it just resonated with me. Like, you know, there was come a point in my life where I was at a crossroads, and it could have gone one way or the other, but someone chose to just, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. It could have been a footy coach. Just someone chose to invest time in me when I didn't have a male role model around me, or you know, a good role model. And I really felt something just sort of just tugged at me, and I said, there's got to be a better way. And she said, I just don't have space. Like, we just, do you know what I mean? It's home, it's school. We just, do you know what I mean? They're always fighting. And that's where I came up with the idea for the respite centre for families and kids. And it's a space for them to come, to be heard, you know, and just have a bit of space between each other.
Brilliant.
Take the fire out, you know, the wind out of the sail, so to speak.
Brilliant. So, you know, and we've all got a different idea about what a vision actually looks like, don't we? So why don't we quickly explore with the group that are here how vision looks to you?
Cool. Yep.
Gary, how does a vision look to you? Like, how do you normally construct a vision?
Did you say Jerry? You did. How do I normally construct a vision? Well, to me, it's future. It's forward looking, and it's all the possibilities of what the business could be, but it also has to very much align to values, and it's also the public thing that you put out there. So you do let other people know what the vision of the company is, and that it should be a bit of a, almost like a long-term goal in a way, and your vision can change as well. That's probably how I see it.
Right. That's great. Thanks, Jerry. What about you, Harsha?
I think for me, it's got to really connect emotionally. It's got to connect with my heart. It's got to give me goosebumps. when I think of it, I've got to get really excited. And I'm at the moment, it's interesting you ask this question, because I've been reworking the vision for my business. It doesn't get me out of bed and get me all excited. But I've got close to getting warm. I feel this warm sensation in my body now when I think of it. I haven't got to the level of tingles yet, those goosebumps, but I'm getting there. So it's got to really not only excite me, but it's like Jerry mentioned, it is something in the future that you're aiming towards, but it's got to connect here. If it doesn't connect here, for me anyway, it doesn't have to be for everyone. For me, it doesn't. I don't feel like I'm moving towards it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Tara, are you out of home cop mode? Can you speak?
Yes, similar to what Jerry and Harsha have said, but it's got to come, apart from coming from the heart, and it's got to be about the future and connecting to all your values. It's got to be summarising that picture, that end game that you're working towards. So that it is the direction puller when things get tough. It is the thing that helps steer the boat when you're not the only one making decisions. When you have a team, whether it be VAs or partners or whatever, then it's the point of contact that you can check in with to make sure that it's actually going to take you to that. If it doesn't, then is it worthy or is it relevant? So forth and so on. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. Thank you. Did you want to add anything at this point, Luke?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, guys. Just a quick question. So would I be right to say that your vision doesn't always have to be, it can be born out of your business, but it always just doesn't have to be the end goal. It doesn't have to be a business-orientated vision, does it? No? It can be anything, right?
So, look, I think Harsha touched on it, like we're all different, yeah? So it's kind of, for me, it's what result does it engender in your everyday life? Like to me, that's how you measure the value and the success of your vision is. Like I said earlier, like, is it inspiring? Harsh talks about tingles. Does it give you the impetus to bounce out of bed because you know that every day, every step, you are moving towards that? That's for me. There's going to be that level of inspiration. Otherwise, it's not visionary. It's like a big goal or something.
That's a good. Yeah, that's a good point.
For me, it has to be beyond that as well. It has to be emotional and beyond that, because your mission, in my mind, is more about what the business is doing and where it's heading.
Much more concrete, yeah.
Yeah, whereas the vision can be a bit more, not airy-fairy, but not tangible. It can be a bit more abstract. There you go. So, yeah.
So beautiful. So look, my business partner, a long time ago, he coined the phrase, it's like a picture postcard of the future. So for him, it was a picture postcard. Because I've always got to outdo him, for me, it's a glorious painting of the future. Yeah. Where when I look at it, it's like, wow, and so I can speak specifically about I've got a personal vision, and I advocate personal vision first. Why? Because no matter how we look at historical figures, there was something in it for them when whatever they were doing. Yeah. And selflessness, I'm sure, goes beyond what I'm aware of right now. However, for us, everyday mortals, I strongly advocate have a personal vision and then your business vision, and each business needs to have its own. But absolutely, Luke, your business is providing the propelling this social enterprise forward, so it can work for that business as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
So for me, my personal vision is, in really simple terms, to just take every opportunity, any moment of any day in my life, there's an opportunity for me to really see my existence anew, to learn something new, and to be different in the world as a result. So that's it for me. For me, it is that, I think Tony Robbins calls it continual and never-ending improvement. And there's many other terms where it's just like that opportunity to express ourselves ever more powerfully is present in every single moment. that we are conscious, and to an extent when we're unconscious. So that's my vision, right? And then my sort of business vision, as it were, is as simple as I want to see a transformation of the world economy away from a currency-driven economy and towards a human economy. You know, we look historically where people were at the center of everything, and we seem to be moving away from that. So for me, it's about returning to that, returning to making it all about us as people. So in my case, my vision is quite ethereal. It's quite abstract. It doesn't have a lot of concrete to it at all. And in fact, it's very difficult to see how it would even be achieved. Now, I don't want to jump ahead unless everyone's ready to jump ahead, but there's a real step we've got to take out of vision into the concrete world. So is everyone ready to take that step, or should we keep exploring vision?
No, I'm ready.
Okay, great. Right. So the final thing I'll say on vision is, if you want examples, you just got to look around at visionaries. Yeah. So Martin Luther King is a classic. He actually said, "I had a dream," right? Which is another word for vision. And so he envisioned a United States where human beings were human beings. It wasn't about color, creed, etc. You know, that was a real vision at the time. And hey, look at this year. We've seen it erupt again. You know, JFK, he had a vision to have a man on the moon before the end of the decade. And when he announced that, that was visionary. It was unheard of at that point in time, really. You know, Gandhi, he had two, this guy. His first vision was to end British rule in India. His second one was to unite the population of India instead of them being in a civil war, you know. And, you know, clearly the biggest visions, the most grandiose visions, are bigger than the individual that envisions them. And they absolutely, as I think Tara said, and maybe more than one of you said, they absolutely just enroll other people in what you're about or what the vision's about. Like they naturally do that. Okay, great. So we want to make the vision concrete, yeah? And it's simple to make it concrete and to actually be in action very, very quickly. And to just support that, I'll give you a very quick story. When I first started as a coach, it was August 2016. So I've just passed 4 years as a coach formally. And in the January after that, so January 2017, my daughter and I caught up one-on-one for her holidays. And when I asked her what she wanted to do, you know, my son was over in Colorado snowboarding, so I went over there with him for a bit. When I asked her what she wanted to do, she was 2017, she was 13. She wanted to work on her business. So we stayed in some nice hotels in the city of Melbourne, and we sat there and worked through her business. And I created a lot of the specifics with my 13-year-old daughter at the time. And it was very powerful. So what we did was we took the vision and then we sort of looked at that strategically, right? So we said, strategically, what is required to see this vision fulfilled? And by strategically, I mean, what is each distinct element of the vision and what needs to occur at the highest level to have that vision fulfilled? So does that make sense? And I'll give some examples. Yeah. So for example, so Luke, just give the elevator version of your vision again.
To create a respite centre for families and kids. So to create a space where everyone can sort of breathe, feel safe, welcome. Also, coupled with education, art. You know what I mean? Different therapies and treatments. Bit of a holistic sort of feel to it as well.
So what you've just described, there's a number of different strategic elements, isn't there?
Yep.
And I mean, what's number one? There's a glaring number one, isn't there? What's the number one strategic goal, if you like, or strategic initiative?
Yeah, well, just off the top of my head, like space, the location, the footprint, where's this thing going to be? How big is it going to be? And then, the snowball rolls from there. How much funding? Where do we get that funding from? Yeah.
So the facility itself, because that's right. You can go out to the marketplace and say, I want to raise funds for this thing, but it's going to work a lot more powerfully if you've got a design and you've got a location in mind, and a lot of that is more concrete.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Now it doesn't have to be the first, but I'd say one of the first strategies that you outline is the strategy to find the space, to locate and design the space. That's it. Now, again, there's some flexibility here. I would see the strategy there as being creating the space. So that strategy would take it all the way to built or fully fitted out or whatever it is. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Now, you touched on some others along the way. So again, I know you're going to go shortly. So, another one that leapt out there was, well, we've got to get funding from somewhere or a number of sources to make this happen.
Yeah.
So there's a whole strategy on funding. And when we're looking at a business, it's going to be a strategy for finance.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a whole kind of silo. Now these silos touch each other, but they do have a distinct area of operation where we can really focus. So we can really nail things down.
Yeah.
Now, we won't go through it now in more detail, but we can do that. You and I can do that offline, Luke, and then we can, put some documentation out to everybody as a result. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
In simple terms, though, we're going to identify every strategic, I'll call it that, strategic goal, strategic aim to see this vision fulfilled.
Yeah.
And once we've got a strategy, then we want to be able to manage that in a practical day-to-day sense. And, we want to be able to delegate things and have the people involved kind of get what's next. So I advocate strongly for breaking the strategy down into a series of milestones. And, the example we always use for how this works, in life is if you're going to do a road trip from Melbourne to Sydney, now, not a huge vision, right? But I don't know, let's say let's say it's a walk. Let's say it's a camel trek. That's more of a vision, right? To do that, you've got, okay, I'm starting in Melbourne, I'm going 700 whatever kilometers, I'm going to get to Sydney. Now, just focusing on that, if you're walking it, is a big thing. But if you say, okay, so what are the milestones? And typically I suggest work backwards from the strategy, the strategy fulfilled, work backwards through the milestones that are logical. Yeah. So I don't know, what's a day's walk from Sydney? Whatever that is, that's going to be your second last milestone before you hit Sydney, right? And then you just work backwards from there to Melbourne. So now you've got this kind of framework of the waypoints or the points where we're going to stop and measure between Melbourne and Sydney. Now, if you then pick that up and say, okay, with this building, and again, I'll just push through at this stage, Luke, but with the building, we've got to start with, a whole series around the location, the design, all of these things. So there's these different milestones where we see the building go from our head or your head to something that everyone can see and hear and understand, to something that's been built, to something that is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so realistically, if to create a vision and nail that, then obviously work out the elements of strategy. What's a fair amount of time, take into account you don't want to procrastinate and think about things for 2 years. What sort of, I know it's probably hard to quantify, but what's a good balance of getting something that's solid, but also hitting the ground running so you can, start moving on it sooner rather than later?
Great question. And Pareto principle always comes into play. I'm going to suggest rather than 80-20, look at 95-5,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
As entrepreneurs, I'd say not 5% of planning time, 95% of taking action. Okay. 95% of taking action and review. So you can tweak your plan. Yes. So, but that said, right, also think about day one, are you going to the public or the government with this or no? You're going to the next level of people, which are the people that you're going to inspire to join you and support you. So they're going to need a napkin version of the thing to decide whether they're in or not. They don't need plans and budgets and all that stuff.
Yep.
So you don't need a lot of planning. You've already got this group and others enrolled without showing us anything, really.
Yep.
So, again, the people strategy is quite a big one too, because you're going to need a lot of help with this, people-wise, right?
Yeah, which we explored, just the different types of skill sets and you know, in its rough form of the type of people that we'd like to engage. And I suppose we're going to find out along the way what's viable and what's not, and especially, you know, like who are we targeting, but you know, what's it really look like, the nuts and bolts of, you know, people that are coming. Are we a crisis centre? You know, are we just, you know, what's it all sort of look like? Because obviously there's some legalities that go with all of this too. We're going to be dealing with things that, you know, are out of the box. So
now you're talking about maybe the operational strategy, right? So you're going to have a whole new, and now that might be as simple as, you know, you locate the operational team and hand it to them. It might be that simple from your perspective. So it really comes out of the people strategy. Once you've got the people, they then run with it and they drive it from there, right?
Yeah.
Well, as I said before, they're silos, but they do interoperate. Now, just to finish that though, and this will help you with the answer to your question. Once we've got our milestones, you know, once we've done that job, we've now got a bunch of strategies. And again, you don't have to flesh out every strategy day one because you're not going to start building yet, you know? So that can come a bit later.
Yeah.
You know, enough, as I said, it'd be enough at the start to have the idea. You know, then you're going to want to have a concept. Then you might want to start to look at plans, you know? So there's these different phases of all of that.
Yeah.
But once you've got your strategy, your milestones, you can look at each of the first milestones in each strategy, and you can start to break those down into the actions required to hit that milestone. Yeah?
Yeah.
So now you're down to that lowest level, that granular level where you can actually start to take action. Right? And naturally, once you've got the milestones for each strategy, you can sort of start to prioritize. You can say, all right, well, really, you know, the sort of the milestones around the building itself, the location of the building, they're first, hotly followed by the people. You kind of need number one to then start to enroll number two. And then once the building has the idea about the building started, you've enrolled some people in that, you're going to have some people who then run with that strategy. So they're starting to design it for you, locate, etc. So that's out of your hand. You've now delegated, you know, you have a lead that is focused on the actual center itself. Yeah.
And I've got a little bit more time actually too. So just an FYI.
Okay.
And are we cool, you know, along that journey as well to be able to, like, say if some things are just completely, you know, we need to reverse engineer it or go back to the drawing board where we're cool with that, you know, and we're like, well, what's the cutoff point? We're not, obviously the vision is the base in which we work from, and that's obviously solid, but we'll always find a way from that vision, or as Jerry said earlier, we okay in business and life to alter that vision to suit.
Great question. So here's how I do it, because I'm very hands-on, right? So for me, the planning phase is, you know, I'm legit 5% would be the most I'd ever give planning. So the idea for me is once you're down to that action level, you're taking action. Yeah. Taking action. And it's like, you're regularly having a look, am I approaching my milestone or not? Yeah. Now the simplest way to think about that is, say, a financial. Yeah. So like, let's forget about your thing for a minute and say, let's just say our financial strategy is I got to raise $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you start that ball rolling. Now, again, I'm going to keep this really simplistic. I'm not going to talk about what's possible versus what's not possible, etc. I'm just going to keep it simplistic to illustrate. Say $1 million, right? So let's say your first milestone is the first 10 grand, you know? Now, if you go out and spend 3 months and you do every fundraiser known to man and you raise $1 grand, it's like, this ain't working.
Yep.
You know, this whole strategy is not working at the moment. And then that's it. You start to work backwards and you say, all right, well, you know, are my milestones realistic? Or, you know, is my action plan realistic? You start at the action plan level. Are my milestones realistic? Is this whole strategy realistic? And yeah, it can go all the way to the vision potentially. You know? So you might, for instance, once you've tested enough, say, Social Enterprise isn't working, I'm going to have to just get a corporate sponsor on board and really rewrite that whole strategy. And in fact, the vision to a degree, because now you've got a corporate supporter rather than a social enterprise. Yeah. So absolutely. From that action level, so action is where you get to test your ideas. And as long as you've got just a cycle of take action, review, you know, are we on track to our milestones, you know, et cetera, then you very quickly start to discover what works, what doesn't work, right? the analogy there that's beautiful is the sailing analogy, right? You just don't sail in a straight line.
Yeah.
You're doing this, you're doing that. There's weather issues, etc. So you're consistently having to relook at your charts and replot and so on. Same in a plane. Very similar, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So regular reviews, obviously, I think that's the goal, you know, takeaway is review what you're doing regularly. Those milestones I can see are very beneficial. And I can even see that from a business perspective. It's having that Steely reserve to, you know, review that and make any changes or improvements. You know, and obviously reviewing, you know, what the end goal is, the vision as the motivator, yeah, because you can get pretty exhausted from just, you know, like goals and, you know, really grinding and working towards things. Whereas a vision, I can see the pretty endless well of motivation, as Tasha was saying before. It gives you tingles, gets you out of bed. You know, that's kind of easy when you feel like that, right? To do anything. So yeah, that's really cool.
And you know, the flip side of the vision or the strategy, you know, overachieving is wow. My target was 10 grand. I've already got 100 grand, and I've got promises for 10 million. Wow. Now the vision expands on that, right? So it doesn't have to tack or constrict. It can actually expand. And in fact, I would argue that the best measure of how powerful your vision is if it's expanding as you go. Because a genuinely powerful vision will expand as other people come on board. And there's a real synergy and, you know, people working together to create something. What is it? The sum is, no, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, that's going to be a big part of obviously moving this social enterprise or non-for-profit off the ground is, you know, is the backstory. And we spoke about that last week. And someone suggested as well to do some digging for me because it obviously came from somewhere. So, and that's interesting too, to make that a part of the vision and create a story, as Harsha said. You know, it's got to be genuine, powerful, strong. And
rolling. And the thing is, your story is going to be at the center of all of your marketing. And let's face it, anything you're doing to attract people, money, resources is marketing.
Yep.
And story will be all of that. You know, it'll all come from story.
Yep.
So yours is the foundation story, but then you're going to have stories from families. You're going to have stories from teens. You're going to have stories from all you know, the police. You're going to have stories from social welfare. You're going to have stories from all over the place that continually reinforce why your vision is so powerful and valuable.
That's pretty awesome, man, when you think of it like that, right?
So what's ticking over in your brain now, Luke? Like any new pistons firing or anything like that?
Always. Yeah. Definitely just the possibilities and, you know, like that ripple effect of stories and how stories can connect people and how like it all just supports one another, you know, and that's a really powerful thing. That's just like it just takes the head off and, you know, blows the mind. Yeah.
All this continuous civilization on this planet is entirely built on story. It's called the dreaming. Oldest continuous culture.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
If you think about it, stories is how we learn about our history. You know, that's how our history was taught originally, was just through stories. So,
and how tradition has grown into something more.
Yeah, and I think merging that marketing, and it's a non-for-profit. I'm going to be like anyone else out there. I believe, you know, so deeply in the cause that I'll go out and I will hustle, I will sell, you know, like that's my goal is to transfer large amounts of wealth into something I believe will benefit, you know, a lot of people and potentially change their lives. And as I've said before, if it just changes the direction of a few kids each year that would potentially have gone one way or the other, then I've succeeded. And I know it's a small sort of fry, but yeah, I think that's a really important part of it as a milestone too. You know, that could potentially be part of the milestone. But
nothing wrong with just helping one person. I know a guy, Peter Nichols, who started the charity Change the One, because you know, he saw how little aid was getting into these villages after tsunamis and all these stuff, and now he solely goes into Vietnam to help people, sufferers of Agent Orange, you know, because it's still coming down the generations. And he's like, if I can just help save one kid at a time, I know that I'm doing something good.
Yeah. And that's awesome. There's people out there like that, you know, and we spoke about this last week, just in the sort of session that we had. And, you know, that changes you as a person too. Yeah. When you find something that you truly believe in, and give back, it again, it's that ripple effect that changes you as a person, and it, you know, encourages you to step up and the people around you to step up and become better role models, and therefore that, you know, has a flow-on effect. So that's
like it has for you, Luke, because of someone helping you. There is a perfect example of that ripple.
100%. I've seen people from, like, in my life, like from 25 years ago, and they said, I thought you'd be in jail. I thought you'd be dead. Yeah, no, I run a pretty successful business. And they're like, oh, wow. And then they might look me up, Facebook stalk me and go, oh, gee, you weren't joking, were you? And so no, and so that's how life can turn, you know. So, and I wasn't a bad dude or anything like that. It was just, you know, it could have gone that way, you know, for me. And and someone gave me a chance along the way, and I can't remember. So how's that? That's the funny thing.
So this makes me think of questions. Like, firstly, does anyone else listening, watching, post your questions? But besides that, Luke and other members here, does it make you think differently about what you're doing in your business and how you might change it a little bit? Al, you've been going through a lot of this in your own business anyway recently, haven't you?
Look, so I'll give my personal example. Yeah, I got behind a campaign called Polished Man when it first started. And that is all about ending violence against women and children, right? So it's very aligned with our friend at Destiny Rescue. And as a result of me committing to being a polished man, I started to look at, well, what does it mean to be a polished man, and what am I really? And I discovered I'm not very polished. You know, so it absolutely had a massive impact on me. Just getting behind that. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but.
Yeah, but you're very passionate and driven about that, Al. You introduced me to that, and we were a small, you know, we played a small role or part in that by branding up your car. And that looked cool, it looked great, and I was like, wow, I never knew this was out there, and so that changed my perception again. You know, of obviously you as a person, and obviously, you know, exposed me to you know, the organisation that helps so many people.
Was that what you were asking about, Tara? You're muted still.
That in your own business and in your own life, or in yourself too, because we all go through changes, especially with what's been going on recently in the world, and particularly here in Victoria, where all of us are. You know, there's been a lot of things that have pushed buttons and evoked change and evoked deeper thought, which is good and bad. So I'm sure the direction and the vision and mission can be internalized and made personal as well, which then reflects and it changes what we do or how we do things in our business. So, you know, they're the types of things I was asking about as well.
I love that. And yeah, Tara, look, I'll give you a warning, Luke. I'll give you a warning. Tara's right. If this is big enough, it's actually going to cause you to look at yourself. It's actually going to cause you to transform yourself as a person, as a man, as a human being. If it's big enough, you can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry, Tara, but absolutely. And that's where life is. That's where living really is. Like, really, you want money, get a shotgun, cut the end off, get a balaclava, walk into the bank, you got cash. It's that easy, right?
But it's about what you do with the money that is more important, and the impact it has on inspiring growth in you and in others.
Yeah, but the problem is, Tara, if I had $1 for every person that said, I've got to make more money, I'd be a millionaire just on that. Right? It's not about that at all. It's absolutely, it is the journey, not the destination. It's not about the $1 million. It's about who we become along the way. And if we become more focused on material wealth, so be it. It's okay. Every journey is unique. However, you're absolutely with you. That's brilliant. Thanks, Tara. And you don't have to keep muting yourself. Stay on.
And it is about legacy as well. Like, it's good to have a lot of money, and it's good to have things in life, right? But for me personally, I don't want to get to the end of my life and have lots of things and then go, well, what did I actually do with my life? Yeah, I had a nice car, couple of houses, a boat, good business. Like, what did I actually contribute? And I don't want a statue in the park, although that would be good.
You could make it yourself too.
Part of my dying wish, I'll pull all funding unless I have a statue right here.
The statue in your centre will be right there in the front of the entry, Luke.
And it's got to be gold and shined every day. It's a bit, that legacy is a big part of, what I'd like to, part this world with as well. And then what I mean by legacy is not remembering me, it's imparting something on this earth that can be continued on even when I'm not here,
Yeah. So here's a question for each of us. We're diverting totally from the topic here. But when you think about vision, and one of the things that was said to me a long time ago, which thank you for the reminder, Luke, now in this conversation, is pick someone who is someone you strongly admire, who has had an impact and an influence and left a legacy, or whatever it is you want to create. For you, Luke, it's legacy. For me, it's legacy. What is that legacy they created? What were they doing or being in creating that you want to replicate? And bring that into your vision and bring that into who you are and how you are as a person. And so if you just think off the top of your head, who are some of those people? There might be Tony Robbins, it might be Helen Keller, it might be Mother Teresa, whoever it is. What is it? If we each said one thing now, who would it be and why? Harsha, who would you choose?
Who do I look up to? So I need to hear that question again.
Yeah, who is it? Legacy? Is it impact? Is it change? And who would be the person that represents that for you?
At the moment, it's probably the one that's coming up is Stephen Covey, because I'm going back and reading 7 Habits. I read the 8th habit first, and I always do these things backwards. But I think at different times it would be someone different. It's just So at the moment, I'd say Stephen Covey, but mainly because he managed to sum up these principles in a book that's everyone's reading it, everyone's kind of getting all this value out of it, even years after he's moved on, and his son's written a book about it. Or he was talking about the book his father wrote, and he said, "I'm probably the person on the planet who's read it the most." Like, it's just inspiring just to have one of his children do that.
So while Luke's answering,
Luke's got to go in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so maybe while Luke's answering, you can think about what it is they've brought that you would bring into your vision.
Yeah, I mean, there's one person we've done work with, Barbara Patterson, and she's a worker in the 3 principles space. And she I look up to her because of where she's been and what she's accomplished, although she talks it down. I tell her to talk it up, not talk it down. But yeah, an amazing, inspiring woman who just throws, of course, she just doesn't care, but she's such a happy-go-lucky person that, inspires me not to put too much on things. And, nothing's really urgent, Luke. We just think it is. And then she laughs and leaves me with that. So, that'd be mine.
So what impact or influence does that have on your vision? What would you want to bring from her or from what she represents into you?
Peace of mind and knowing that the clarity and the prevailing winds is, that speedboat analogy, Al. We can get in a speedboat, have all the goals in the world, load up, smash through the waves, or we can just be in a boat, sailboat, just all the prevailing winds, seeing all the wonderful things in life, along the journey. So that would be me, with the non-for-profit, is finding all the wonderful things and discovering new things to contribute and learn, for myself and impart to others. Yeah. I hope does that answer your question?
Well, what I love about that, Luke, is that serves as a blueprint for the teams that come in to look at life differently. So it's great. Yeah,
that's awesome. I've got to go and cut some cake.
Good work. Happy birthday, son.
I'll pass it on. Thanks, guys. As always, an inspiring group. Always got my mind ticking over, and I appreciate being the guinea pig for the non-for-profit. And thanks for, really, really appreciate being surrounded by such a, impactful and inspiring group as yourselves.
Great, mate. Good night.
Thanks, Luke. Have a great week.
Have a great birthday with your son. Or your son's birthday with you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Al, Jerry, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, for me, I can't name anyone off the top of my head, but I'm always very inspired by people that have, turned their billions of dollars or their millions of dollars into just solely just helping out other people in other situations and everything like that. So, I don't know who stands out as a shining star in that regards. But you just think about all the billionaires in the world and how they could share their wealth a lot better amongst other areas of society. Doesn't mean it would fix it, but there's a lot of things that that a lot more better situations could be created, I would say. And just like for me, part of my business now is giving to charity every month, so that's part of, I guess it's one of my goals, is to be giving a certain amount to Destiny Rescue each month through strategy sessions that I sell. And I've set a personal goal to save at least 2 children through those efforts, in the next over the next year. And I think I could easily save 2 kids in a year. And, just by me having recently shared that with quite a few people about this, other people have reached out to me and said, oh, can I do a fundraiser for them as well? And, oh, can I do one? And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I think more and more people sort of realize that they can do even something small in their business to try and make a bit of difference in someone's life at least. So, and just like Peter Nichols' charity, it's even if we can just save one life, you don't know who that one person is going to turn out to be. That one life could have been Gandhi or whoever. You just don't know. So what kind of ripple effect saving someone's life could have in the world. And I really believe in that that butterfly effect and that ripple effect. And just like Burke Street in your house, Tara. It's like people walking past constantly. That's my little thing there.
Harsha, did you want to add anything?
I think again, different people at different times have inspired me. When I was living with Al, I was looking up to him. Going, okay, how are you doing those things? How and you absorb that, through that synergy and that relationship. But keeping on the vision again, one of the things, and I mentioned it this morning in our in the business group that we have on Mondays, that I was creating the vision for a couple of different entities, and I saw this common theme. And I think that common theme, when you think about it, is the energy you're putting in, and the energy that inherently is you. So when you're coming up with that vision, if you're clear who you are, I think that vision's going to come about really a lot quicker. The more clear you are, because at the end of the day, you're there at, whether you're creating a plumbing business or setting up a group of pianists to teach children, that, what is it that you are giving? What is that energy that you're putting out? And I definitely saw a common theme for me. And that was a bit of an eye-opener, because I saw these two different business entities. I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh my God. If I look at it at a high level, it's just, and yeah, it was a real eye-opener for me anyway. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share.
Well, it's a great point, Harsha. I could talk a long time about all the different facets of business. One of the important things that many of us don't realise for a while is that a business is just an expression of the leader or leaders. All it is. And that's where values come in, right? That's where they are really important. But you've nailed it. Every business you have will be a different expression of you, and the other colours that you add through partnerships, etc., will be expressed then differently.
Yeah.
Well, they add to the rainbow, really, don't they?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. For me, that person would be, right at the moment, it would be Richard Branson, because he's innately him. He stands in that power. He doesn't apologise or ask for forgiveness to anyone for anything about that. In fact, he makes it uniquely his, and in the same time, he brings people together to work his vision and create his vision for him, and has fun doing it.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Love it.
And so he doesn't deny himself being him. He just brings it all to the table, which I think is brilliant.
Excellent. So I think it's a great question, and I've never spoken about mine publicly. I've told a few people privately. So again, as I've lifted my gaze, things have changed. I used to look at individuals and say, yeah, that person. And then the last time I looked at this exact question, who would I really see as the greatest mentor I could ever have? Like, I just want to go for broke. And I'm not religious in any way, but I just thought, well, really, it'd be Jesus Christ, because every story about him there was always a higher purpose. And it was always a fully empowered higher purpose. There was just no loss of power for that guy ever. I mean, even when all was lost.
Yeah.
There's not many people that have had a song written about them that has the word superstar in it.
Right.
We could break into song right now, Alister. I know you love that song too.
So that was it for me. And it was like, who am I going to be truly inspired by? It's not that there's, not that there's something wrong with men or whatever, but like, I don't know. I'm a man. It just wasn't enough. It needed to be.
We're all fallible. We all have faults, and everyone, even the people that we've said, have faults. No one is perfect.
No.
But there's elements we can pick out about each person. And as Harsha said, at different times, different people will suit, depending on what it is we need to focus on and what we feel. We're lacking often the things that, or the people that we pick are the ones that we want to bring out in ourselves.
Yep.
Or bring to light or accept more or love more or whatever it is.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, look, I'd say we're getting close to time, aren't we? Now, I won't go much further now, other than to say, look, I never talk about mission, not because there's anything wrong with mission. It's just not what I talk about. So what I then focus on after that whole vision and strategy and action, so because that's the nuts and bolts of getting it done. I then talk about purpose and values. So values is critical for how do we behave as a business? Like, what are our behaviours? What impact are we going to have on our environment? And then purpose is like, what's the point of this from the perspective of the different stakeholders? And so I always advocate looking at the purpose from the perspective of different stakeholders. Now, what that does is it makes sure that we're aligned with the stakeholders, and it also, purpose and values combined, gives you every piece of marketing you'll ever need. Because you can always describe to people, here's the vision is, here's what we do, purpose is, here's why we do it, you know, and the values are, here's the behavior that supports that. Great. So I'll read out what you've done, Tara, or do you want to read it out? You need to unmute.
Because Al didn't talk about mission, and for those who want to add mission, it's just really demonstrating the why your business exists. Right, the vision is taking it beyond the why. It's the the non-physical, the non-tangible stuff. Whereas the mission is about the physical why, what it's going to bring for you, the people it impacts and influences and deals with. A little bit about the functions, but it's more about where it's heading to and why.
Brilliant. And again, that's just the many flavors, you know. I know some people, obviously like you, Tara, bring that in, and that's great. It's just not one that I've ever picked up on. So, yeah. So, look, that's our real nutshell kickoff. As always, we are available. So anyone that you've heard or seen here that may have any value in contribution to you, reach out to them. That's what we offer here, and vice versa. If there's anything you've heard about here tonight that you'd love to contribute to, then please reach out.
Yes, please do reach out. We always welcome contributors and people that want to, come on and talk to us and share their knowledge. And between now and the end of the year, we are going to keep up this workshop series and keep up bringing you some really great presentations. So over the coming weeks, we will give a bit more indication of what the topics will be and what dates they will be once we get a little bit more organised. But next week, we are meant to have on Annie Callis, I hope, talking about, what was it again? Because she's not here. Goal setting and personal goal setting, and why people don't achieve their goals in 3 areas of your life. So stay tuned for that one with Annie next week. So thank you everyone for joining in the conversation, and hope to see you same place next week, 8 o'clock on Monday nights on the All4One channel.
And Mr. David Wilson, thank you for your message. He's watching the stream.
Hi, David.
Watching, and thanks for your message. Great to hear.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.